So see, so many people don't even know terms anymore. They don't even listen to terms. They don't look at them, listen to them, learn them, apply them. So don't use the Constitution as your crutch if you're not going to get to know your founders. Your founders, you can tell every Republican, conservative, MAGA, Democrat, libtard, etc., you can tell how intelligent someone is and or dumb they are by their knowledge on the Federalist Papers. All right? You got to go look at the Federalist Papers. That is the origin and the mindset of our founders. Because the Constitution, when it was written and drafted, and then when it was enacted, all right, what came between those dates? The Federalist Papers. So you want to go read up on what our founders thought about term limits? Federalist Papers number 10, number 49, number 51, number 53, and number 72. They all favored no term limits because if everyone's doing what they're supposed to be doing, everyone each in their own lane, if you just want to be a regular civilian, you don't want to be a public official, that's okay too. There's a responsibility for you, but there's also a responsibility for public officials to stay in their lane and also do their job in their lane of whatever they wanted to run for. But it's kind of like what we have today, and a lot of you will resonate with this. In small towns in the South, you'll have people run for a position like coroner, right? Now, someone's got to do it, yes. Someone needs to do it, yes. But a lot of people will run for like a spot like coroner, right? Get in, become trustworthy to the community, to the families and friends, but then that person will turn and run for some like representative spot. And then what happens is they built the trust, yes. Did they seem to be a good person? Yes. But then they get into a position that had nothing to do with pronouncing someone dead or not. And then they'll get in this position, money. Money, 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 money. And that's where compromise comes in. Now, someone could run for coroner, yes, and end up being a good representative, yes. There's always a could be. But what are their intent and their motives? And President Trump has quoted this before where he said, have you noticed that the swamp, what they did in the swamp, someone would get fired or not elected, and the swamp found a way to put them somewhere, somehow, some way, and they still stayed in their residual base. It was a swamp for a reason. They never fired someone because they were straight up incompetent and see ya, adios. No, they always found a way to spawn them back somewhere, somehow, some way in their system. And when you educate yourself on that, you'll see that what they established was a democracy. Oh, they quote democracy correctly to their establishment, not the United States of America, which the same Constitution outlines in Article 4, Section 4. We're a constitutional republic. We're not a democracy. And what's happened through the years is they've said the word so much that people have adopted it and let it become a norm, and it shouldn't be, and it's not. Now, when President Trump uses a term, that is a troll tactic. That is showing you, yeah, you know, they would get out there, oh, we got to protect our democracy, protect our democracy. Yeah, we got to protect it, all right. No, he's destroying it. He's destroyed that mentality. And now you've got to change your mentalities out there. And that's what's not taking place so far, even in the quote-unquote patriot world. Everybody's still following a lot of mainstream people who are actually part of the operation from another manner. Like X over here that I'm live on right now. X is a captured operation. You wonder why President Trump don't ever post on there, Harley? Because it's not part of the overall picture. When Elon acquired X, that was your right there. That was your sign. That was X marks the spot. X is a captured operation, the little blue check that everybody now has. Now you don't have to be so famous or so incredible. You can pay $7 a month for it. Same thing with Palantir. You have all these quote-unquote patriots, Palantir in these data centers. These patriots, oh, this is bad. This is not good. No, we've had data centers since the 1940s. All right. And then also, what are data centers? They house what? Data. No crap. So if you're saying we don't need data centers, then that means you don't need a cell phone. I mean, it's really common sense. Palantir, same thing. They had a contract with the Army since 2011. But there's four words in a recent Yahoo Finance article that summarizes the whole thing that shows if you're dumber than an ashtray on a motorcycle versus are you applying what's actually going on and what has been changed for the good. 4 words in one article. Compiling data, existing contracts. When you hear the average complaint by the average Republican, the average MAGA, the average conservative, we don't have to get into Democrats and libtards. We can just straight up butcher all of you quote-unquote Republicans out there who think you're so knowledge. You're not. You look as atrocious as the libtards when you talk about Palantir. 4 words. And the main complaint by Republicans, they're going to have our information. Hammer, sledgehammer. They already have your information. See, this is why Americans, to the rest of the world, you look dumb. Do you want to look dumb? Well, you already do. So you're already in a dumb hole, which means you got to dig out of your dumb hole just to get back even, to even have a chance to look like a credible mind out there capable of thinking on your own. Compiling data from existing contracts. So either you want President Trump and what you've been seeing, which means you got to know what you've been seeing and apply it, or you want the past. What was the past before President Trump? Obama, Hillary, Bill, Bush, all of them. Janet Reno, Colin Powell, you name it. This is not rocket science, ladies and gentlemen, and so many of you are making it rocket science. So you got to know your origin. It's real. You got to know your origin. So the Federalist Papers outline how a president can most certainly, and you should want that, because 1, experience and wisdom. Experience and wisdom don't mean that you're automatically due to be compromised. When every public official will take you one-on-one, if you don't want to be a public official, and look you in the eye, and you ask your questions, legit questions, and then they're reciprocal to that, that's what it's supposed to look like. But how can you have credible questions when you don't even know the verbiage of how the 3 branches even operate or function? And that's where our founders were so genius. Our founders, but mainly Madison. James Madison is the sole single author of the Constitution. Which is why it's even more hilarious that he had to go into a courtroom in 1803 to describe what a law looked like. To the Supreme Court, of which his brain established the whole process and function of the 3 branches.